So there isn't actually a trailer that I can show you regarding this game. Here's the closest thing I could find. A convention from 2005. Please enjoy the edited clip and stick around for the review.
Change paces
It's a different mode.
and we're working on a new game for our website, homestarrunner.com. And the game is starring the character Stinkoman. Yes! Woo! It used to be called Stinkoman K. Let the intro play here. Okay, so we can play the game.
Wait, what? Would anyone like to come up and we'll watch this?
You are tall, but that won't stop me from puncher, puncher, puncher! Another victory for Stinkoman! Killing that robot makes me want to go home. Try level 1.1!
I'll try.
Oh, look out, Mike. Oh, got him. You made him fly really far away. Look out for the sporks.
Oh, that guy's gonna pinch you. Pinch your bot. Look out! Oh no!
Hi everyone! I am Quinma from Plus Quinma doing another Plus review. This time for Stinkoman 20XD6. Stinkoman 20XD6 is a Flash game on HomestarRunner.com. Now, my only other experience with Flash games is Neopets, which means the bar that's been set for this game is mostly based on the negative reputation I have constantly heard regarding Flash games. If you remember, a while back, I said that if I were to do another season of Let's Plays, the game to be played on Plus Torture would be Stinkoman 20XD6, because I remember as a kid, I found the game super hard and thus hated it. But let's see if Kid Quinma's thoughts on this game hold up. Oh, and as always, this was recorded using a camcorder, and you can find a link to the trailer-like thing in the description below. Now here's the history based on my very limited and not all in-depth research. Stinkoman 20XD6 is a Flash game developed for the Homestar Runner website. The game is based on the character Stinkoman, who is an anime stereotype reimagined version of the villain Strong Bad. Stinkoman was first created in the short Speed Mail 57 Japanese cartoon, originally released January 6, 2003. The game was first released March 21, 2005 with levels 1 through 3. Levels 4 through 9 would subsequently be released throughout the year. However, the final level, level 10, was never released. According to the Homestar Runner wiki, the reason was because the programmer was moving away, so the game was forever to be incomplete. However, that was all changed in 2017 when a fan of Homestar Runner volunteered to finish the game. Then, in 2018, it was announced that they are officially working on the final level of the game, though it was delayed again due to the work being done on Trogdor, the board game. Nevertheless, the final level is still in production. One of the creators of Homestar Runner stated that their goal is to get the final level out by December 31st, 2020 at the very latest, the day that Flash is supposedly going to die. Now, I'm not patient enough or good enough at the game to wait until level 10 is released, so I'll be playing the original 9 levels and judging the game on what it was since 2005. As one would expect, the story is rather episodic. However, there is an overarching story in addition to the individual episodes. Now, the game stars our title character, Stinkoman. Stinkoman lives in the year 20XT6 on planet K, always looking for challenges. After defeating his latest challenge, he wants to go home, and so the game begins. Admittedly, there is not much in terms of plot, but if you don't want any spoilers of any kind, you can skip to the time on screen. Alright, firstly, on Stinkoman's way home, the boss he previously beat is back for a rematch. Stinkoman does make it home after that challenge, and after some time, while Stinkoman is eating some chicken soup, 1UP approaches his hero to tell him that Pan Pan the Panda has been kidnapped by the shadowy figure. However, Stinkoman chokes on a bone while 1UP is telling him all this. Therefore, Stinkoman ignores 1UP's plea and goes to challenge the chicken that this bone came from, because that makes sense. After finding and defeating the chicken, Stinkoman essentially challenges a wall that blocks his path, leaping into the air and almost reaching space just to land on the other side of the wall. However, the wall is actually part of a giant robot who essentially accepts Stinkoman's challenge. After beating the robot, Stinkoman takes the robot's giant fist as a new power-up. Later on, 1UP once again brings up that Pan Pan has been kidnapped. However, Stinkoman will not go rescue him. Therefore, 1UP decides to rescue Pan Pan himself. 1UP also takes one of Stinkoman's power-ups called a Power Crunch, which Stinkoman is surprisingly cool with. However, when he learns that 1UP is going to the lava zone to try to find Pan Pan, Stinkoman follows after 1UP in order to protect the Power Crunch. Of course, 1UP thinks he made it through the lava zone all by himself, not knowing that Stinkoman was protecting him the entire time. Now, while Stinkoman is able to protect and get his Power Crunch back, he loses his new favorite power-up when he protects 1UP from the boss. After some time, while Stinkoman is playing a game, 1UP approaches Stinkoman to ask him to help rescue Pan Pan. Stinkoman states that he already helped 1UP in level 4, so 1UP is on his own. Determined to rescue Pan Pan, 1UP ends up on the moon. However, after winning a challenge of his own, the shadowy figure shows up and kidnaps 1UP. Meanwhile, annoyed at his game, Stinkoman decides to go on a vacation to the Pink Cloud Zone. Of course, Stinkoman's idea of a vacation is defeating a great challenge. And after defeating a challenge Stinkoman finds in the Pink Cloud Zone, Stinkoman decides to try to find 1UP and Pan Pan. I assume that means that the shadowy figure sees Stinkoman as an obstacle for whatever plan he has. Thus, the shadowy figure uses a red button to teleport Stinkoman to an ice level. Knowing someone red-buttoned him there, Stinkoman demands revenge. Seeing as how the ice level didn't slow Stinkoman down, the shadowy figure teleports Stinkoman into a literal wall. However, Stinkoman destroys that wall, opening a pathway into the glitchy negative zone. After getting through the negative zone, Stinkoman learns that 1UP and Pan Pan are in the same place as the red button. Hence, Stinkoman comes to the conclusion that the two of them were the ones who red-buttoned him into the ice level and wall and vows revenge. However, Stinkoman doesn't want to go through level 9, so he summons his Stinko Wing to fly over the level. Not wanting Stinkoman to reach his castle, the shadowy figure sends a fleet to take down the Stinko Wing. Yet again, Stinkoman defeats the challenge put out before him, and he gets a prawn salad from his victory. And then Stinkoman flies into the shadowy figure's castle for the final challenge. And that's it. That's where the story ends because we never got that final challenge. As of right now, the final boss is Harvac 17. Thankfully, we should see the final challenge sometime this year. Now this game is very, very hard. However, it's not as bad as I remembered. Don't get me wrong, it is hard. But it's also fair. As one would expect from a flash game in the action platformer genre, the controls are super simple. The arrow key is to move, the A key is to jump, and the S key is to shoot. Yep, Stinkoman shoots in this game by punching the air. I assume that this is either something like a key blast or that Stinkoman punches the air so hard that a powerful gust of wind shoots out and damages the enemy. In either case, the gameplay itself is undoubtedly borrowing from Mega Man. Now, while the controls are simple, the level design is anything but. The placement of enemies, hazards, and platforms is where the challenge comes from. Not to mention the bosses, which are all challenges in their own right. There are ways to cheese these bosses to make the fight significantly easier though, as I found out during the level 2 boss and level 9 boss. Speaking of bosses though, there is a very, very annoying glitch in level 1. If you fail to beat the boss in your first try, then when you spawn back into the game, the floor will disappear and Stinkoman will fall into a bottomless hole and die. So if you don't beat the boss in one life, it's an automatic game over. And apparently this glitch also exists in the level 2 boss. Honestly, even when level 10 eventually gets released, I don't see this glitch getting patched. Now there are a few levels that actually have different gameplay than the main game. These are level 3, level 4, arguably level 5, and level 9. I'll go over these one by one. Level 3, with the exception of the boss, is basically a huge minigame. During the first half, you punch angry clouds to collect gold, and during the second half, you have to collect 10 pieces of bread without touching anything else. And honestly, it was a pretty boring minigame. Level 4 is an escort level. You can't shoot, but the enemies aren't really focused on Stinkoman either. Using Stinkoman's new power-up, you block hazards and defeat enemies from below to protect 1-Up. Furthermore, you also jump on buttons to move platforms for 1-Up to walk on. After all, 1-Up only moves forward, won't stop, and can't defend himself. Or so we thought. In level 5, we play as 1-Up. Now, while the platforming and level design are like a typical level, 1-Up has different attributes. 1-Up jumps higher than Stinkoman, but is slower on ladders. Also, unlike Stinkoman, 1-Up can't shoot! I imagine the reason being that Stinkoman is supposed to be stronger than 1-Up. So instead, 1-Up can only kick enemies at a short range. He makes up for this lack of range with a spinning attack that can sort of act like a barrier to protect him from both sides. In level 9, Stinkoman is piloting the Stinkowings, so the level can't be a platformer like the rest of the game. In this level, you freely fly between obstacles. The S key is still the shoot button, but now the A key is a shield button. However, the shields are understandably limited for game balance. Thankfully, flying into geography isn't an instant death, but it does deal damage. Also, there are some spots where the screen will automatically speed up to give the player less time to react to oncoming obstacles and enemies. The gameplay, for the most part, is fun. I enjoy that the controls are simple and taking down opponents as Stinkoman is great, though the levels that break up the normal gameplay is another story. If I were to score these levels on their own merits, then level 3 would get a bored rating, level 4 would get a liked rating, level 5 would get a despised rating, and level 9 would get a bored rating. Now, I do understand the argument for why level 5 could be someone's favorite level. However, I just absolutely despised this level. I hated this level so much that I no longer like 1-Up. When 1-Up met his fate at the end of the level, my only thought was, good. The fact that I can't shoot any of the enemies from afar felt annoying and a little unfair since the level design felt like it was made for a character like Stinkoman. Furthermore, in 5.2, there is this super unfair jump. If it weren't a trap floor, then I could see it being a fair jump, but the combination of the spread shots and the trap floor make it far too easy to fall into that bottomless pit. Like I said, I do 100% understand how level 5 could be someone's favorite level, but personally, I feel like level 4 does the best in breaking up the gameplay. Granted, my viewpoint could be a bit skewed due to level 4 being between the boring minigame level and the rage-inducing level. However, I find it an interesting take on the typical escort mission. The level almost felt like a puzzle or a dance, making it satisfying to complete. There isn't much to say about the presentation of this game. The art design of the game is like a combination of classic Mega Man and the style established in the Homestar Runner cartoons that take place in 20XD6. This style continues to the text, which is purposefully full of bad grammar in order to convey the feeling that it is a poorly translated SNES game. This is similar to the Stinkoman cartoons that parody dubs that don't properly match the lip flaps. When taking into context of this being a Flash game, the music is surprisingly good. Forgettable, but good. Each level has its own theme that fit the unique setting of each theme. The most memorable song for me is the main theme. I'm not sure if that's just because I died so many times, thus getting booted back to the title screen. I admit, I am disappointed that my past self thought that this game would be deserving a spot on Plus Torture, because it doesn't. It's a fun game. Well, it's fun when it works, and it works best when it is playing as a Mega Man clone. Unfortunately, there are some levels that just don't hold up, most notably the ones that have different gameplay. Sure, the ice level is annoying due to ice mechanics, and the negative zone can be confusing at times, but I still enjoyed them. And part of me feels like the levels that do contain the different gameplay are unnecessary. I can see the argument that it's to support the story of the level, but did Stinkoman really need to challenge a wall? I get that's supposed to break up the normal gameplay, but why couldn't 1-Up shoot too? I feel like as far as Flash games go, there isn't a need to break up the gameplay, because Flash games are supposed to be short goings anyway, right? If I were to judge this game level by level, then some levels would get liked ratings, but others would get far lower. However, I am not judging this game on a level by level basis. I'm judging it as a full package. And as a full package, my feelings on Stinkoman 20XD6 are mixed. Part of me really wishes I could give it a higher rating, but I can't. As a full package, the levels that bring it down really bring it down. However, level 10 looks like it'll have the same base gameplay as the levels I like. So, here's hoping it delivers a satisfying conclusion with a satisfying hard but fair gameplay.